Are we alone? I mean, really alone? Are we really alone? Or are there people out there, aliens? Well, we may find out. The alien files are now out. Today, the Pentagon dumped 160 files about UFOs. We've been combing through them. There's video, lots of video. Some of it we've been told has never been seen before. So what do these files prove? More on that coming up. And shocking news from a major airport. A Delta worker in Orlando, Florida, killed while on the job. We're going to tell you what happened. Also ahead, can pizza cause cancer? There's a chemical found in a lot of things we like that causes cancer, and not just in pizza. The chemical is banned in Europe. Should the United States ban it as well? Plus, former FBI Director James Comey is trying to save himself again from what? We're going to tell you. And thousands of college students saved from finals and tests thanks to some hackers. I'll explain what happened. But first, some breaking news from President Trump. In Truth Social post, he writes, quote, I am pleased to announce that there will be a 3-day ceasefire May 9th, 10th, and 11th in the war between Russia and Ukraine, end quote. Now, Trump also said there'll be a prisoner swap of 1,000 from each country. Meanwhile, and this is ominous, the Middle East is now bracing for the war in Iran to explode again. Today, U.S. forces fired on 2 Iranian tankers attempting to breach the U.S. blockade. Middle East correspondent Zach Anders joins me from Tel Aviv, where it is 11:01 p.m. Zach?
And Greta, Emirati officials in the United Arab Emirates report 3 were wounded by falling debris from a ballistic missile attack that was successfully repelled today, they say. Flights into Dubai and Abu Dhabi suspended for a time, while Iran's attack directed at 3 U.S. warships involved multiple missiles, drones, and small attack boats, CENTCOM says. Iran claims their attack was in response to the U.S. firing on an Iranian-flagged vessel earlier in the day. President Trump telling reporters last night that the ceasefire remains in effect there. He dismissed Iran's attempt to hit U.S. warships, says they trifled with us and were blown away. As for diplomacy, here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio from Rome this morning.
We should know something today. I mean, we're expecting a response from them. We'll see what the response entails. The hope is it's something that it can put us into a serious process of negotiation. Obviously, we've seen the reporting overnight that Iran has established or trying to establish some agency that's going to control traffic in the Straits. That would be very problematic. That would actually be unacceptable.
Iran's foreign minister and member of their negotiating team, Abbas Araghchi, writing this on X today, quote, every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the U.S. opts for a reckless military adventure. Is it a crude pressure tactic or the result of a spoiler once again duping POTUS into another quagmire? Whatever the cause, outcome is the same. Iranians never bow to pressure. And new video released by CENTCOM this afternoon shows U.S. forces firing on and disabling 2 vessels CENTCOM claims were entering an Iranian port in the Gulf of Oman, attempting to break the U.S. blockade. CENTCOM says the U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet off the deck of the USS George H.W. Bush was disabled. Another from the Abraham Lincoln, another F-18, a shot at the vessel's rudder with its guns, disabling that boat. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper says U.S. forces will continue to prevent any vessel from entering or leaving an Iranian port. And breaking this morning, Hezbollah firing rockets into northern Israel, thousands running for shelter, no hits or injuries reported. The IDF is expected to respond. Both the Israeli and American military sources are telling me that they remain on high alert heading into this weekend. They are fully prepared to return to all-out regional war if diplomacy fails. Greta.
Zach Anders, thank you. All week we've been talking about the Hantavirus. It's a mystery and it can be fatal. This Sunday, the cruise ship that is linked to 3 deaths and at least 5 confirmed cases will dock in Spain. More than 140 people disembarked the ship at that point. What is President Trump saying?
We have a lot of people, it's a lot of great people studying it. It should be fine. We hope. I hope not. I hope not. We'll do the best we can.
17 Americans are passengers on this ship. The United States is sending a plane to pick them up. The ship will dock in Spain on this island called Tenerife. We do not know yet where these American passengers will be flown to in the United States, but reports are those passengers are expected to be quarantined. Meanwhile, 5 U.S. states are monitoring people who traveled on the Hantavirus hit ship before the outbreak was identified or it even happened. One state, New Jersey, is monitoring 2 people who are potentially exposed to an infected person. None of these people in these 6 states has symptoms, so it's just a precaution. Former CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And do you have a sense that WHO has a grip on this in terms of where it's from, what started it, whether it can spread from human to human, whether there are other ways that this can be, caught? I mean, do you have confidence in WHO on this?
I think they have a handle on what's going on. I'm not privileged to their internal discussions, but clearly, I think, Greta, there's been an outbreak of this Andes virus, which is a Hantavirus in Argentina since last July, and they've had a little over 100 cases. It's about a 35% mortality, human mortality. And unlike the other hantaviruses, like Korean hemorrhagic fever virus or the Four Corners virus that we've had in this country, unfortunately, the Andes virus is the one hantavirus that has been shown to be able to be transmitted human to human. Most of the hantaviruses go rodent to human, rodent to human, rodent to human. But this virus can go human to human. And it does look like in this outbreak on the ship that there may have been some human-to-human transmission, since one of the early cases on the ship was the doctor that was taking care of the patients.
Okay, well, now I'm more concerned because you tell me the Andes hantavirus is a 35% mortality rate, and you say that the WHO knows that it's human to human, and they knew that there were about 100 cases last year, and never spoke up about it. And that was sort of their job, to alert the world. And I mean, it didn't look like they're making any effort to contain it when they know it's human to human.
Yeah, I can't comment because I really don't know. I do know if you look at the Argentinians, they've been dealing with this since last July. And as I mentioned, I think the original cases on the ship did not get infected on the ship, which is something you worry about because, sometimes there's rodents on a ship, that they actually got infected in Argentina and then got put on the ship. The problem with this virus, too, is that the incubation period from infection to developing clinical disease could be a week, but it could also be 8 weeks. So it's hard to distinguish of these cases that we're seeing. Now there's 8 of them associated with the ship. How many of them were actually infected before they got on the ship? How many of them got infected subsequently on the ship? I do believe the doctor being one of the cases makes me believe that, at least for the doctor, that was a human-to-human transmission case.
All right, well, within a possible 8-week incubation period, would it not be sensible, and I feel bad for these Americans who are coming back to the United States, if we're going to quarantine them, to quarantine them for the full incubation period?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, this is where mistakes can be made. As you know, we go back to COVID. Everyone said that the COVID, when it caused infection, never caused asymptomatic infection, and there wasn't human-to-human transmission. That's what the Chinese said back in January when I was CDC director. The reality is human-to-human transmission, it's one of the most infectious viruses we have, and the fact is asymptomatic infection is the rule. So I think it's important to be aggressive initially and sort of test everybody that's been exposed and not assume that you only test these symptomatic individuals. I don't have any knowledge that that's being done. I would encourage that to be done. Secondly, I do agree with you of those individuals that are coming off the ship that we're about to pick up in the Canary Islands, and they should come back, have a very aggressive risk assessment, including testing, and then most likely be held in isolation for some period of time, 4, 6, maybe 8 weeks, to make sure that there's no evidence of infection.
Well, now again, I go back to, the WHO, why my head spins every time anyone mentions WHO. He talked about how in January of 2020, the Chinese said that it wasn't transmitted COVID from human to human, when on January 14th, 2020, here it is, they put it up there, it says, there's WHO telling the whole world. This is before we even had the first death in the United States. So now when you tell me that WHO wasn't worried about 100 people with a virus, the Andes virus, and it has a mortality rate of 35%, I just don't have a lot of confidence in what I hear out of the WHO.
I just don't know what their involvement has been with the Argentinian Ministry of Health. That's all I'm saying. Clearly, this is a significant event. It's disappointing to me as the previous director of CDC, obviously, that we don't have a more aggressive role in this current outbreak. It's an outbreak that occurred in international waters. According to the International Health Regulation, WHO has the lead. CDC would be available to support WHO if they ask for that support. I'm confident that CDC will be very involved in the evaluation of the 17 Americans that will be coming back to the United States. I suspect they will go to one of our special facilities that we've developed for dealing with patients that have been exposed to high containment activity. We have one really good facility that we used during the COVID pandemic in Nebraska. I'm pretty confident that the health professionals that are going to be making this evaluation from CDC and from the health and territorial groups in the United States will be vigilant on this. It is a hard disease to go human to human, but again, I think it's important to realize it can go human to human.
Well, you talk about WHO, and I guess that, I mean, are we still giving them money? Because if we, I mean, the idea, I mean, that we have sort of a passive role in this and something that Americans are involved, 17 Americans, and poor Americans are coming back to the United States and have some fear. And if we have to wait for the WHO to ask for our help and the CDC I mean, if we're still giving them money, that's the best we can do is sort of wait for this organization.
I don't know if we're giving them money or not. I know we have withdrawn from the WHO. I don't know the timing of what the financial commitment is. I'm not necessarily disappointed that we withdrew from WHO. I think WHO, unfortunately, has become very political, as you mentioned, with the COVID pandemic, where they clearly were incorrect in aggressively stating there was no human-to-human transmission and aggressively stating that there was no asymptomatic infection and aggressively stating that this virus came from the wet market. They were wrong on all those points. But I'm pretty confident that the United States, which is going to go pick up the Americans in the Canary Islands, they will be equipped with highly qualified individuals, from our health establishment. I don't know for certain if that's CDC. I would assume it will be, but I don't know.
Yeah, I hope our people are in charge of it as well, because you can obviously detect my view of the WHO. If I haven't even said it, you can detect what I've been saying. Dr. Robert Redfield, always nice to talk to you, sir.
Thanks, Greta. God bless you. Yep, take care.
Thank you, sir. And the head of the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Marty Makary, is expected to be out of a job soon. That's according to reports from the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. Both are citing anonymous sources, which I hate, but they say the White House has signed off on a plan to fire Makary. It's unclear when he may leave this role. Coming up, a decision by the highest court in Virginia is a big win for Republicans. Plus, this morning, thousands of United States schools suffered a cyber attack. We'll tell what some schools did amid finals. That when the record continues.
Dear Dr. K, I used to think I was never meant to be beautiful. I was teased because of my teeth. I didn't like the person looking back at me in the mirror. I never thought I could afford dental implants. You and your team worked within my budget and helped me feel confident in the plan we made together. I love my new smile. Thank you.
Congratulations, Cynthia.
Introducing our new lifetime warranty on zirconia arches, only at Clear Choice. Call to schedule a free consultation.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Mother's Day, the Jewelry Exchange has 8mm pearl strands, $39. Diamond and emerald tennis bracelets, $4.99. 3-carat solitaires in 14K, $12.99. Thousands of gifts guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange Direct.
Yes, the gambling. A few hours ago, the Virginia Supreme Court struck down Virginia's redistricting plans, which I call gambling. Last month, in a special election initiative promoted by Democrats, won voter approval. The ballot question at issue reads, quote, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2023 census, end quote. Well, today the Supreme Court of Virginia reversed the vote. Justice D. Arthur Kelsey, writing for the majority of the Virginia Supreme Court, wrote, quote, in this case, the Commonwealth submitted a proposed constitutional amendment to Virginia voters in an unprecedented manner that violated the intervening election requirement in Article 12, Section 1 of the Constitution of Virginia. This violation irreparably undermines the integrity of the resulting referendum vote and renders it null and void, end quote. Now, this is a setback for the Democratic Party, not just in Virginia, but nationwide. The Democrats had hoped to add 4 more Democratic congressional seats in Virginia. President Trump commented on the Virginia High Court decision, saying, quote, huge win for the Republican Party and America in Virginia. The Virginia Supreme Court has just struck down the Democrats' horrible gerrymander. Make America great again, end quote. Virginia's Attorney General Jay Jones, a Democrat, also responded to the court's decision, saying in part, the decision silences the voices of the millions of Virginians who cast their ballots in every corner of the Commonwealth, and it fuels the growing fears across our nation about the state of our democracy. He added that this court's ruling follows a dangerous trend of tilting power away from the people. And also, former FBI Director James Comey waiving his right to appear in federal court this coming Monday in North Carolina. Comey said his upcoming appearance was unnecessary since he had already appeared in court last month in Virginia. Comey has been indicted for allegedly threatening President Trump's life in his 2025 social media post. In that post was a picture of seashells writing out the numbers 8647. Some argue the number 86 refers to getting rid of something or someone, and 47 refers to the 47th president, which is President Trump. More federal prosecutor Joe Moreno joins me. Nice to see you.
Greta, good to see you.
Nice to see you. So he's waiving his presence Monday. Common, right?
I'm shocked because I thought he would have loved the attention that the perp walk brings. I mean, he kind of bathes in this stuff and this adulation from the left as the ultimate anti-Trump guy. So I'm actually kind of surprised he bowed out of this one.
This one would have been in North Carolina?
Correct. That's where the alleged photo was taken.
But couldn't he have been indicted in almost any state because social media, I mean, you're indicted where the crime is, assuming there's a crime. And if you're on Instagram or someplace else, it's in every state.
Yeah, I mean, it's best to bring a case closest to the facts that underlie it, right? So if something is alleged in Florida, you bring it in the right district in Florida, or in this case, North Carolina. But yes, with the nature of the internet and interstate commerce and basically anything will transcross state boundaries, you could effectively bring a federal case like this anywhere.
Is this a serious case?
No. And I say that I'm no fan of James Comey. Over the years, I think he is sanctimonious. I think he is self-righteous. I think he single-handedly perpetuated the Russiagate nonsense because he knew from the beginning the Steele dossier was garbage, and he leaked to the media. So
And when he leaked to the media, that one thing that I never liked is that he did it after he left. He gave it to his friend in New York to launder, and I thought, to the New York Times, I thought, what a coward. You know what? I mean, what's the former director of the FBI being so sneaky?
He degrades the entire office of an august institution that I myself was blessed to work for at some point. So I don't think he's a great guy. That being said, the Department of Justice should not bring bad cases even against bad guys. And I understand a lot of people feel like Comey never faced consequences for his actions. He never faced any kind of legal consequence for the fact that he leaked non-classified but still sensitive information from the FBI, that he set up Michael Flynn, that he did a lot of untoward things, but that doesn't mean that you can kind of bring a weak case. And I think the DOJ is going to look even sillier a second time, bringing a case that's probably even weaker than the one that was thrown out last September.
All right. You live in Virginia, so let me ask you about this Virginia case. It was the Virginia vote was thrown out essentially because they didn't follow the right procedure. And we have, and every state has procedures and federal. I thought that it was a terrible ballot amendment by its sheer wording, because what the wording says is to temporarily whether the voters want to adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness. I mean, who in his right mind doesn't want to restore fairness? I mean, there was such a loaded question.
Voter referendums are supposed to be nonpartisan. They're not supposed to push one way or the other. That clearly characterizes one vote, yes versus no, as fair, and the other one, I guess, by unfair, I guess, if you take it that way. So that was one of several reasons that by process this failed. And the Supreme Court of Virginia, it's not known as a conservative court, but it is known as one that follows rules. And it says basically between the wording, between the fact that this was rushed, it's supposed to be interspersed over 2 legislative sessions. The Democrats rushed it to get it done in time for this midterm. The court said, sorry, you didn't follow the rules. The whole thing is out.
But I mean, whoever was the one who was the author of this particular, the wording in here, I'm thinking to myself, you didn't even try to hide that you wanted fairness. But when you say to restore fairness, I mean, because no one's going to say, no, I want to be unfair. I mean, it's like there's no effort to even like hide this.
Well, I think also it's the ultimate sort of whataboutism that I think is perpetrating our kind of politics these days. It's like, well, it's really bad to gerrymander, but because Texas is going to do it, we're going to do it here in Virginia.
Well, that's why I call it gambling. We throw the dice. It's like, because it makes a difference who's going to win the House.
Either it's good or it's bad. If it's bad, take the high road and don't do it. If it's not that bad and I'm going to do it anyway, well, then I guess, where are your principles regardless? So I'm glad it failed because it was a terrible, terrible referendum. However, it's not going to really stop, because I think people will always be able to justify, well, if the other side does something, I'm going to kind of fight in the dirt with them. And I think that's a terrible way to conduct yourself.
But usually gerrymandering is done every 10 years within a census. I mean, everyone's trying, both parties trying to game the system.
Yeah. And look, gerrymandering is not illegal. I think it's untoward. I think it's a terrible way to run a government. But pure gerrymandering for political purposes is legal. And so, yes, both parties do it. Some states have taken a higher road. Virginia was on the right track because they had this nonpartisan commission just passed about 6 years ago in 2020. And this referendum would have scrapped that and said, we're going to go back to the old ways. We're going to draw these ridiculous lines so that basically congressmen and women in Fairfax County, where I live, would more or less touch every part of the state, basically making red districts into very blue districts.
This is incredible, isn't it, what they can do?
Yeah.
With gerrymandering? I mean, with the House of Representatives, so, with the margins so narrow, and this gerrymandering is so profoundly important. You get 1 or 2 extra seats in the state, and it can make the difference whether
I think the left should be more worried, not so much about the short term, whether they can game the system through gerrymandering. I think they should be more worried about longer term population shifts from states like California and New York to low tax, low government states in the South and like Florida. So I think that's really where the Democrats should be worried about. It's real population change that will allocate electoral college votes, not short-term gerrymandering, which might get them advantage in a one election cycle or another, but long-term, they should be worried.
But even short-term, I think, at least for the Republicans, I mean, if the Republicans take over, Democrats take over the House, there will be impeachment. Everything changes. So, who knows? Everyone's gaming everybody in this town now.
It'll be a waste of 2 years.
Joe Moreno, always nice to see you.
Thanks, Greta.
And last night across the nation, hackers caused chaos and confusion at schools and universities. Canvas, which is a system used by many schools for instruction, was breached. The group behind the attack was able to access private messages and other records. On Sunday, the group began threatening to leak information. Canvas went down at the worst possible time since this is the end of the year and finals are underway. Today, though, the system came back up. Some schools, though, have pushed exams back in an effort to help students. No word yet whether the owners of Canvas paid a ransom or what happened to the compromised information. By the way, if you see my name online with some lousy high school grades, know that this is real. The leaking is happening. Coming up, in 1599, William Shakespeare wrote Hamlet, and in it he said, something is rotten in Denmark. Well, Shakespeare may have foreseen 2026, elderly people getting punished. That when the record continues.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free no-obligation consultation.
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
These days, supporting the right causes matters more than ever. That's why I chose Patriot Mobile. They're not just a great mobile service provider, they're all about giving back. Every bill helps support causes we believe in: family, faith, and freedom. You get great nationwide coverage on all 3 main networks. Even better, you're doing it with an American company that stands up for us. It's time to make the switch, y'all. Let's support a wireless company that's got our back. Go to patriotmobile.com and make the switch today.
Did you hear about SHIELD, that test for colon cancer?
No, what?
It's just a blood test.
No.
Exactly.
So I don't have to spend time doing all that other stuff?
Nope. No. Nope.
SHIELD is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved SHIELD from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
It's time for our outrage of the day. Birgit Kaler-Holst, a politician affiliated with the Alternative Party, which is known as a Green Party in Denmark, is on the hot seat. Why? Well, she is defending new guidelines that limit residents of government-run nursing homes to just 2.8 ounces of beef a week. To put it in perspective, 2.8 ounces of beef is less than 1 Big Mac. On April 30th, Holst spoke at a Copenhagen City Council meeting. The meeting was held to announce a new plan to exclude nursing home residents from those restrictive meat guidelines. Holst made very clear she is against the exclusion of nursing home residents from the restrictive meat guidelines.
Der skal alle, også ældre, bidrage til, at vi når vores klimamål. Og i parentes betragtet, så kan man jo sige, at det er måske lige præcis den generation, der har svinet allermest.
By the way, the average American eats between 1 to 1.6 pounds of beef each week. That is about 5 times more than the Danish restrictions. Meanwhile, New York's pizza and bagels may soon taste a little different. On April 21st, the state assembly passed the Food Safety and Chemical Disclosure Act. The act targets potassium bromate, Red-3, propylparaben, and other additives. Potassium bromate is a chemical used in flour to help dough rise higher and appear whiter. According to a memo accompanying the act, potassium bromate can cause cancer and kidney damage. The memo goes on to say the other additives the state assembly is targeting can cause cancer and also behavioral issues in children, as well as hormone and reproductive harm. The act is currently heading to New York Governor Kathy Hochul's desk. She will have the final say. And in 2023, California passed a similar law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom that targeted additives found in cereals, candy, and soft drinks. And in the 1990s, the United Kingdom banned potassium bromate after studies found it caused cancer in lab animals. And what's it like working for someone who barely sleeps? Who's the boss I'm talking about who barely sleeps? President Trump. Yesterday, his Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, gave us a glimpse of what it's like working for the Commander-in-Chief who seems allergic to sleep.
I am not one of those people that doesn't need sleep. I actually do very much. But in the campaign, when I go to sleep early, and Dan Scavino, who I'm sure many of you know, is a night owl, so we divide it. And I get the early calls and Dan gets the late calls. And that's the way we've sort of navigated over a couple of years, making sure we all get enough sleep, even if the president doesn't.
Well, it must have been another late night and early morning for his advisors, because at 12:16 a.m. Eastern Time, President Trump posted on Truth Social about the stock market. And just a few hours later, at 5:41 a.m., President Trump posting again. He posted about the UFC event coming to the White House. Coming up, America gets extraterrestrial. The Pentagon releasing new alien files. What's real, what's not? You decide. That when the record continues.
Hey, I'm Carl Higby from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stairlifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stairlift, the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stairlifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stairlift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs anymore.
And our Acorn Stairlift was very affordable. Our Acorn Stairlift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stairlift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stairlift if there is something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
I am king of my castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stairlift directly to the staircase. In most cases, in 2 hours or less. There's no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stairlift.
Don't risk a serious fall going down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stairlifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with Acorn Stairlifts.
Call 1-800-908-4077 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That number again is 1-800-908-4077. Call now.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer. Jacuzzi bath remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for up to 1 year. And best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-814-7454.
My earwax buildup was frustrating. Then I tried new Lipo Earwax Cleanser. The revolutionary formula dissolves earwax 5 times faster than the leading brand and helps prevent future buildup. Feel the difference with new Lipo Earwax Cleanser.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
This will give you something to talk about at your dinner table tonight. Aliens. Today, the War Department released more than 160 files related to UFO sightings. They date back nearly 80 years. Here are some of the videos released today. In June of 2024, a UFO sighting was reported in the United Arab Emirates. It is described as an inverted teardrop. The person who saw this said it could have been a reflection from an object in the water. In January 2024, the video was taken, this one, in Greece. It was captured by a U.S. military platform. A mission report described it as a diamond-shaped UFO moving at about 500 miles per hour. This one was captured in 2013 in the Middle East. The reporter did not provide any description of the sighting, but it depicts an 8-pointed star with arms of an alternating length. And think these were just captured on Earth? Well, this image was captured in 1972. It was captured on the moon from Apollo 17 mission. This was the last time humans, meaning Americans, went to the moon. The box in the top right shows 3 lights. Another file contains audio from the 1965 Gemini 7 crewed spaceflight. This is what astronaut Frank Borman reported to Mission Control in Houston.
Bogey at 10 o'clock high. This is Houston. Say again, 7? So we have a bogey at 10 o'clock high. Roger.
Now, bogey is not a golf score here. It refers to an unidentified object. Upon the release of the documents, President Trump said in part, quote, "With these new documents and videos, the people can decide for themselves what the hell is going on. Have fun and enjoy," end quote. Former Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene responded to this release of UFO files by saying, quote, "I really do not care about the UFO files. I just do not. I'm so sick of the look at the shiny object propaganda while they wage foreign wars, let rapists and pedophiles run free, and ruin the value of our dollar. Unless they roll out live aliens and test demo UFOs or actually admit what we know this really is, then I have way better things to do on this Friday," end quote. Director of Institute for Theory and Computation at Harvard University, Dr. Avi Loeb, joins me once again. What do you make of these files, sir?
Well, thanks for having me. I think it's very exciting. This is not a political matter. We're dealing with objects that the U.S. intelligence agencies, the Pentagon cannot figure out. So there are 2 possibilities. Either we're dealing with a national security threat. These are produced by adversarial nations, or it's the biggest discovery ever made in science. We're dealing with non-human made technologies. In both cases, it's exciting. It's a detective story. And the way to resolve a detective story is not to say, I don't care about it, but rather the opposite, to collect more data, to try and analyze everything we have to figure out the nature of these things. And, you know, we are all curious when we are kids, but somehow we lose this curiosity when we become adults. The science offers this privilege of staying curious, taking risks, asking questions, and addressing them with data. You know, that's the way for us to guide ourselves to new knowledge. And if we have a neighbor that is visiting us, we better know about it, because just ignoring it will not let it go away.
I wish we could amplify the pictures a little bit, get closer up somewhat, because it's hard to tell on some of these. It just looks like, you know, it could just be some, you know, some problem on the lens almost. But I mean, this one is particularly interesting. We're looking at the screen right now. I don't know what that is, but, you know, I would hope we could get a little closer. And why do you think it took 80 years for some of these files to be released? What's the big secret?
Well, members of the Pentagon prefer not to be scrutinized. So if they can't figure things out, if they have data that they cannot interpret, they would keep it under wraps. Of course, some of the data was collected by classified sensors, so you don't want to reveal the abilities of us to collect information around the globe to adversarial nations. So that's another reason not to release the data. It has nothing to do with the data. It has to do with the sensors. The problem with some of the images and videos that were released today is that some of the information is redacted. In the case of the Epstein files, you can figure out the context even with the reductions. But in a scientific matter of this nature, you want to know everything about where the camera was, how was the camera moving relative to the object, and reduction doesn't really serve a good purpose. So I believe this is just the first shot, and in fact we will get new installments of data every week perhaps in the coming weeks, and the best is yet to come. We were looking through the data today with my research team. We had a lot of fun going video by video, image by image, and we can explain most of the anomalies in terms of either reflections within the camera, the optics of the camera, or natural phenomena. For example, there were Apollo 12 and 17 images of flashes of light or sources of light above the moon's surface. And this could be produced by impacts of asteroids. The Artemis II astronauts reported about flashes of light. Or they could be reflections within the optics of the camera. So the data is not good enough for us to say, but definitely there is no conclusive, beyond any reasonable doubt, evidence in the data released today for non-human made objects. Maybe that will come along in the future, and that's very important, because instead of this being regarded as a matter of opinion or a philosophical question as to whether we are alone, where is everybody, this is a question or questions that can be asked scientifically, and we can address them by getting the best data we can. So it's all about the data. It's not about the voice of Marjorie Taylor Greene saying something. That's completely irrelevant. Let's get the data out, analyze it, and I'm here to help government, because in the worst case scenario, if it ends up being technological objects manufactured by adversarial nations, in that case, at least I would feel that I helped the Pentagon figure out things. It's my civil duty as a scientist to do that. Rather than ignore and ridicule the discussion on this matter, as most scientists do.
And I imagine that AI will be probably pretty helpful distinguishing and looking at things too as well. So we'll see. We're just getting started on this. Anyway, Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And the investigation is underway at the Orlando International Airport. According to Delta Airlines, last night one of their employees died while working at the Orlando airport. The airline did not disclose the employee's title, nor did they disclose the cause of the worker's death. Delta did release a statement that reads, quote, "The Delta family is heartbroken at the loss of a team member while on the job at Orlando International Airport on the evening of May 7th. We are focused on extending our full support to family and taking care of our Orlando team during this difficult time," end quote. After the incident, operations at the Delta station in the Orlando airport were paused while staff worked with investigators, and one flight was canceled. Delta has vowed to continue to work with local authorities to investigate what led to the death of its employee. Coming up, former Vice President Kamala Harris uses an expletive when talking about President Trump. That when the record continues.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no co-pays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
This is a bottlenose dolphin. And this is the breakthrough nutrient doctors discovered that helped dolphins age healthier. Now, over 100 peer-reviewed studies later, it can help you age healthier too. Discover how at fatty15.com.
New is in season at Cabinets to Go. Now you can refresh, revamp, and re-energize for less. Discover fresh new styles, bold new colors, and brand new collections at up to 45% off. Or get a new kitchen for less with 0% APR for 48 months. The new collection sale is happening now through May 12th. Shop these deals and more online or in stores today. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Americans have lost billions of dollars in their retirement accounts during the dot-com bubble of 2000.
And inflation is only getting worse.
Patriot Gold Group just introduced our America 250 Inflation Protection No Fee for Life IRA.
I'm sure glad Eileen and I rolled over our IRAs into gold in 2019.
On Wall Street, there's a saying, sell in May and go away.
My saying is, call the Patriot Gold Group today.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
Now it's the former vice president's turn to get her mouth washed out with soap. Last night, former Vice President Kamala Harris spoke in Las Vegas. She criticized President Trump for the war in Iran and used a rather spicy term.
When you look at this war in Iran, which the American people do not want, which was not authorized by conference, but even if it was, it should not have been initiated. He talked about obliterating, and then he said, oh, he did. It's all just bull. You made me do that. I promise I'm not going to curse in public anymore.
That's just a glimpse of some of the political rhetoric we've been hearing. Of course, it's not just the Democrats stirring up trouble.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
And for a palate cleanser, let's take a trip back to former President George W. Bush in 2000. Here's Bush 43 talking about his opponent, former Vice President Al Gore.
We're running against a tough opponent, no question about it. He's a man of great confidence. After all, he's the one who announced to America he thought he invented the internet. But he's not all that smart, since each internet address begins with W. Not one W, but 3 W's.
Author of Finding the Third Way and former Special Counsel of President Bill Clinton, Lanny Davis, joins you. Nice to see you, Lanny.
Hi, Greta. Nice to
It's
see
been
you.
a long time. We've known each other 100 years, I think, at least.
And I have some George Bush stories in this book.
Yeah, you do have to. Yeah, well, that's what you're here. You've got a brand new book. That's exactly, why we're here. But one of the issues you raised in your book is the whole civility thing. I mean, that's just, is it gone?
I wouldn't have read it. I think it's almost gone, but I think there's a new generation coming up that's sick of it. And I tried to go back to my days way before this new generation, where George W. Bush and I were college fraternity brothers. And I told some really nice stories about what a good guy he is and how underestimated he was back in college. So I think there's hope for civility, yes.
I don't know if there is, because, I mean, I even went back through and I just, Googled, and look, everybody says such horrible, mean things. President Trump says mean things. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says wicked things back at the president. I mean, it's just an exchange of nasty things, calling him dangerous, and I don't know, he called her crooked or something. I don't see how the temperature gets toned down. I only see it as getting hotter.
Well, there's a special personal animus between Hillary and Trump. They ran against each other, and there's no love lost when you're political opponents. And I think both sides have overdone the rhetoric, and it's kind of scary sometimes. But my thesis is that you get to know somebody and you disagree with them. I have a lot of friends who voted for Donald Trump, and I strongly disagree with them. But they also say that they didn't have much to look for as an alternative in the Democratic Party. But I can still be friends with them and have a strong disagreement with them about Mr. Trump.
What do you make of the 3 assassination attempts on Trump?
So I think it's wrong and even dangerous.
I mean, but why not? Why is he getting them?
So I think it's wrong, in my opinion, and dangerous to associate assassinating a president with some political party or political motivation, even if the crazy, dangerous, reckless murderer is a Democrat or Republican. Any Democrat or Republican that tries to do that, as has been done on both sides of the aisle when one person gets shot, to try to turn it into a political motive and then blame the rest of the party, I think is dangerous.
But the thing is that, you know, when what happens, you know, I sit around waiting like on these things like, you know, how many, naturally since the president's Republican in the White House, I look to see, you know, what Democrats are standing up and saying anything. And it's like everybody's, you know, like no one's saying anything. Well, I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that, you know, the whole, you know, it's, you know, and you got, you know, the things that are, you know, people wishing for Trump's death. That's not a difference in policy.
So I don't take a crazy, maniacal statement by somebody like that and then try to extrapolate that into the mainstream of the Democratic Party. Anybody who says something like that is a disgusting subhuman being. I don't care whether they're Democrats or Republicans. If it happened to a Democrat by a Republican Trump voter, I wouldn't extrapolate and blame other Democrats. I just say that's a crazy, violent person that ought to be.
But nobody's even saying any of that.
No,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, nobody's saying this. I mean, is the Democratic Party, as you know it today, the same Democratic Party when you were serving in the White House in the 90s?
Yes, there are a lot of Democrats that are the same Democratic Party. There are a lot of Democrats who I disagree with, but I just have to respectfully disagree with you that I know of any Democrat, prominent or not, who defended violence against Mr. Trump.
Well, but isn't silence almost a defense?
I have heard,
you know, isn't silence? I mean, the fact that you not speaking up about it.
I've heard almost everybody that's a leader of the Democratic Party speak against any assassination attempt and violence against Mr. Trump. So I just respectfully disagree with you.
You had Schumer at the Supreme Court saying about Justice Kavanaugh for something like, "We're coming for you" or something. And then a couple weeks later, some guy shows up at his house with a gun and armed to the teeth. I mean, you know, so you know, it's just not true. People are saying just terrible things in leadership.
So, in leadership words that you just used, I agree with everything you just said until you said in leadership, and I don't know of any Democratic leader that defends violence.
Schumer. Schumer was essentially saying this, was essentially doing that, I thought.
Well, essentially is a word that I would like to know what you mean. I've never.
It was code. It was code. A nod and a wink.
Code is a nod and a wink is in the eyes of the beholder. I've never heard Chuck Schumer defend violence or certainly an assassination attempt. And any Republican or Democrat that attempts to politicize these disgusting subhuman beings who are attempting to murder a president or harm anybody, violence on both sides of the aisle, is one of the reasons I wrote the book, because we do have common ground, Trump voters and Democratic voters.
Hold up your book. I want the viewers to see it because I want them to. There you go. Finding the Third Way. Lanny Davis. We've known each other for 1,000 years. Go back. Anyway, Lanny, good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best to you. Thanks for inviting me.
And today is famed historian, writer, environmentalist, documentarian, and producer David Attenborough's birthday. He is 100 years old. Celebrations and well wishes have been pouring in for Attenborough, including a birthday wish from Prince William.
Happy 100th, David. Cannot believe it's your 100th birthday. Thank you so much for all your support with our Shop Prize, and everything you do continues to inspire me.
Happy 100th birthday to David Attenborough. Coming up, a peeping Tom in Colorado, and he gets caught on camera. That when the record continues.
I'm Yalmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, It's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you, and God bless.
In America, we believe in hard work, family, and taking care of our own. That's why SafeStep walk-in tubs are proudly designed, built, and assembled in the USA, in the heart of Tennessee, by more than 300 hardworking Americans.
My name is Michelle Johnson. Lamination is where we put the fiberglass, resin, and gel coat on the actual product.
Skilled craft professionals, building every tub with precision, care, and pride. With a low step-in design, built-in safety features, and soothing therapeutic jets, SafeStep helps you stay comfortable, confident, and in control.
My name's Angela Peters. We make sure everything is as perfect as it can be.
When you choose SafeStep, you're not just investing in your home, you're supporting American families and American jobs. Call now for your free in-home consultation and ask about our special offer. SafeStep walk-in tubs, made in Tennessee, made for you.
I'm former Mets manager Terry Collins. The Tunnel Towers Foundation is very important to me, and I look for ways to try to support them any way I can. If a first responder is killed in the line of duty, T2T will pay off the mortgage for their family. That's just one of the ways T2T makes a difference. You can support their cause as well by donating $11 a month. Go to T2T.org, let's go Mets, and let's help Tunnel Towers.
Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Yeah, it's been forever.
Dale, we can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield.
Simparica Trio protects against 3 categories of parasites.
Power of disease.
This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
Honey, Mortgage Bunny 6 says we should keep renting.
Mortgage Bunny 6?
Reba says more realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. They track every market so you know when to make your move.
He also says that Bigfoot... Got it.
Make it real with Realtor.com.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America, by Americans, with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
You have to bear with us on these next stories. First, we go to Tennessee, where this hungry bear tried to steal some snacks. He was caught on video trying to open the door to a cinnamon roll shop. But thankfully, the locks were bear-proof. After failing to get in, the bear went elsewhere to look. Now to Colorado, where a couple found an unexpected guest at their basement window. This bear was the culprit. The bear went down their window well and just stayed put. Police say he certainly had the strength to climb back out, but instead he made himself right at home. He got so comfortable, he even fell asleep. Colorado Parks and Wildlife officers safely got the bear away from the house. Officers then drove him to southwest Colorado, where they set him free in the woods. Looks like he got a lot of energy from that nap, because off he went. Thanks for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take is next. And check Greta Wire, my new podcast. Stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.